More than 20 years after her husband died from infected blood given to him by the NHS, a widow from Derby is set to get compensation from the government. David Hatton was one of thousands of haemophiliacs who were infected with HIV and hepatitis C.
More than 2,000 of them have died in what's thought to be the biggest scandal to hit the NHS. Well, we're joined now by our health correspondent, Nancy Cole. And Nancy, firstly, tell us more about the background to these compensation payouts.
Well, this today has just been such a significant day when it comes to this is 40 years of families campaigning, and this is really the first time that compensation is going to be paid out to some of those who've been affected by this infected blood scandal. Now, around 4,000 victims are going to be getting £100,000 each, as well as the partners of those who've died, including the wife Rhiannon Hatton from Derby. Her husband David was one of those infected, and he died in 1998. Now, this scandal all dates back to the 70s and the 80s when there was a new treatment called Factor 8, and it was introduced for people who had haemophilia and blood conditions. It was the kind of thing that helped their blood clot. High demand here in the UK meant that they went to America to get supplies, but over there they were sourcing blood from drug addicts and people who were in prison. Now, around 5,000 people were infected with HIV and hepatitis. It's thought the number, though, could be around 30,000. An inquiry was launched in 2019, and a recent independent report called for families, all of them, to be compensated.
These are interim payments as we move towards the conclusions of the inquiry next year. But we felt the need to move very quickly on this as soon as the recommendations came through, because people sadly are dying on a far too regular basis. This is a profound scandal which has had a huge impact on far too many people. And while we can never compensate for that, hopefully this money will help.
Well, Rhiannon Hatton's husband David was just 41 when he died. He had been given contaminated blood, and she's one of those who is going to receive the compensation. But she's told us that no compensation can make up for the loss that her family have suffered.
I think that for my children, they're also going to be very relieved that the mum's taken care of. But it means nothing to them, the money. There is nothing that could compensate for the loss of their father. And of nothing.
Nancy, we've seen some people getting compensation. Is everybody happy with compensation?
Well, no, parents and children of victims aren't going to get any compensation at the moment, but it hasn't been ruled out. The inquiry ends next year and something might come after that. Well, Jason lost his dad in 1993, and he says today's news just doesn't go far enough.
I think really the community as a whole are hoping to see that each person that has been infected, whether they are alive or they've died, would be recognised today. That hasn't happened. Only about a third of the impacted families have been recognised, but it is a step forward, and we're going to have to keep pushing, keep campaigning and keep fighting to get everybody included.
Well, as I said earlier, the full inquiry will end next year. An independent report only last month said that all of the families should be compensated. So if the inquiry and the government agree next year, the final amount could add up to around £1 billion.
Nancy, for now, thank you very much.